Point After Podcast with your host, Julien Barnett.
What is up? What is up, fantasy world? Welcome into the Point After Podcast. I am your host, Julien Barnett, coming to you live, as always, from the True North Podcast Network in the Great White North. This week, I'm joined by two fantastic good friends of mine and fantasy minds. I mean, I don't know if I'd say that we're like really, really close, Ellis, but we do live, in terms of the fantasy football world, we live extremely close to each other. So I'm going to call you a good friend to intro you into the show. I'll segue that into Ellis Johnson. Welcome into the show, man. You're a writer for our True North podcast as well as for Rotoballer. You've been jumping on a bunch of pods lately, trying to get your face out there. So I applaud you, and I am so excited to have you on. Thanks for coming.
Man, I appreciate that. No, thank you for that intro there. You know, I guess anyone from Calgary is my friend, so we can be good friends all day long, man. As long as you cheer for the Flames, that's all I care about, man. It'll be good to jump on this and talk some fantasy with you, man.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. We've got a quite a jam-packed show. We're going to talk Julio trade. We're going to talk the fantasy ramifications that has. And then we're also going to be doing a NFC mock draft. I told Craig right before we got on. So Craig, I'll intro you in a second here. But before we get into that, Chris, who is usually on every second Friday, he had a family emergency that he wasn't able to make it on this night. And so Craig, as always, I reached out. He jumped in immediately and said, "Yeah, I'm coming on." I did tell him that it was the AFC South. I also tweeted that out that we were talking AFC South. We're going to be talking NFC South draft in the fluster of getting everything started set up for today. I missed the mark on that, so my apologies. But anyways, Coach, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you jumping in last minute to join us here. Welcome into the show.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, I am not Detroit Beastie?
No, you're not. But like I said in our private chat, if anybody can replace what he brings to the show, it is you. So I'm excited to get into it. Boom. Ty says we look related, which does make sense. I think that's the Calgary sun. Just it hits our face differently. It gives us that little orange tinge, you know?
It gives us the ability to grow a really nice beard, right? I mean, mine's nothing compared to yours, but I mean, it must be something in the air here.
Man, I think so. And it's been a long time coming. Like I've been growing this beard for, about a year now. And I just haven't really shaved it. I put a lot of cream in here. I comb it out sometimes. Renee doesn't like it that I use her hair comb, but it works the best. So,
oh man, up here in Canada too, it gets so cold. You gotta warm yourself up, man. I'm all for it.
100%. I mean, it's not so cold these days, but when it is in the winter, I feel it when this thing isn't here. I certainly feel it. So yeah, with that, man, I wanna ask you a couple questions. Last week I had Thomas Tipple on, who lives over in Winnipeg, and so I asked him, quite a few questions just about being Canadian. But I just want to ask you two real quick. So the first one, which I did ask him, who makes the best ketchup chip?
Man, there's only two brands that come to mind, and obviously Lay's is the common answer. But Old Dutch, man, I think it's the only chip that Old Dutch makes better than another company.
Right?
Use ketchup. Old Dutch.
That's because no one else is making ketchup chips.
Dude, Old Dutch ketchup chips slap, man. I'm telling you, that'd be my answer. That's a Canadian answer right there for you.
And Coach, have you had the luxury of trying the ketchup chip yourself?
Nah, I'm not a big ketchup person regardless. So.
Well, they don't really taste like ketchup that much. I mean, they kind of do, but they're a lot sweeter. I don't know. It's hard to describe the taste of a ketchup chip. I mean, it's like describing water.
Yeah, or poutine, or syrup, or maple syrup, or any of that stuff. You just can't describe it, man.
You can't. You got to get it right from the source. Right from the source. And the next one, I mean, man, this is, I don't think I even need to ask, but I hate Canadian geese. And do you have this same hatred that I have? Do you have room in your heart? I mean, I don't really like to hate things, but if there was one thing that I had to choose to strongly dislike, it would be Canadian geese. Is this warranted? Do you think that these are one of the worst animals out there?
Is it warranted? And do you make a lot of good points? Absolutely. Do I disagree with you? Absolutely, man. That's a Canadian staple right there, dude. They are so annoying. They poop literally everywhere, man. It's terrible. I was playing on a rugby pitch full of that shit. One of my friend's leg got cut open and he got infected. He almost lost his leg because of those things. Like, it sucks. And that's a true story, too. Like, so are they terrible? Yes. Are they amazing? Absolutely. They're just like not as cool loons, man. That's about my take on them.
That's true. And their sound is so annoying. They're just so loud, man. Their squawk is like, it just resonates through the air like an echo. Don't get me started on geese. We don't need to talk about geese to get this get this show kicked off. But let's talk about Julio. So with the trade, the Titans get Julio Jones, a 2022 6th-round pick. The Falcons get a 2022 second-round pick and a 4th-round pick in exchange, which, I think is actually, it's a pretty good deal for both sides. Like, you're getting a 32-year-old wide receiver. They don't have to give up a first, but, a second is still going to be a great prospect. Even the 4th, whatever that can turn into. And yeah, so Coach, I want to go to you first. What do you think? What was your initial thoughts on this? On the immediate players impacted with this. So we've got, we'll kind of go through the guys, but let's just talk Julio and AJ Brown right here, right now with these two guys. How do you view the two of them? Do you think there's room for both of them to see 100+ targets in this offense? In a low volume passing offense, ranked bottom 10 in the league in total passes last year, or do you think we could see a 50% target volume share to two guys, two elite playmakers in the passing game? Take me through your thoughts.
I think that's definitely possible. Like, you look at the Titans, they don't throw to the running back position in general. Obviously, Derrick Henry's not much of a pass catcher regardless, but, if you got two guys that are as good as they both are, my initial thoughts, is really just caps AJ Brown's ultimate ceiling upside in terms of targets. Mm-hmm. But I think there's room for both them to be successful, but I don't I'm trying to think, but Julio's probably a wide receiver 2 if he's healthy. AJ Brown's probably a low end wide receiver 1 at the end of the day. And I think we kind of talked about it in the group chat too, is part of it really comes down to their defense. If their defense gets better, because if they're in these games where they have to put up points, they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more too. But then you look at it and they play the Texans and the Jaguars, 4 games that they should win rather easily and be able to run the ball. So then you're looking at the other 12 games. What do those ones look like?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that answers my next question, which was, do you think that both of these guys can finish as a top 24? But Ellis, I'll throw it to you. Do you think they could both finish as top 15, or do you think that's too much of a stretch? I mean, in a low volume passing offense, but the talents that are there, or where would you put that threshold to have them both finish in the top whatever?
Yeah, so I think that if 15 sounds about right, but I think that's kind of pushing you're at Julio's kind of ceiling just based on the volume that team has, right? But I think that's kind of where the line is. 24 sounds a bit low. I think he's quite comfortably in that WR18 kind of range. But no, man, I think they're both going to be successful. And the biggest part about Julio is he's a target monster, right? And he always gets the targets. He might not get the amount of targets he was getting, but they had the second most targets leaving in free agency with Adam, with Adam Humphries and Corey Davis, obviously, and Johnny Smith. Don't know why I led with Humphries there. He definitely had the least. But there's that right there is enough of a role for Julio as is. Now, AJ Brown was going into this trade, my WR1 across all formats. I love the opportunity. I loved what he brought to the table. Obviously, I don't think this does limit him, but I only moved him down to my WR4 or 5 for next year. So I think they definitely coexist. In Dynasty, AJB is still my 1. Learning behind Julio, man, does it get any better for a physical body like him? I don't think it does. So I don't know. I love them both. I'd set that threshold probably 15. You're looking at the ceilings. 18 is probably where I think I'd put it if we're trying to be logical here.
Love it. And I think you're right. That's why I put these marks, right? Because 15, I think, is kind of pushing it. You get to that range that's, he has to be producing quite consistently to be at the, a top 15 wide receiver. Julio, I think, we're all assuming that AJ Brown is going to, take that role himself, still be the guy that he's going to be. But with, he saw 120 targets last year. I mean, I kind of had him projected for like 140 before they had not brought anyone in. So, Coach, you alluded to, kind of capping his ultimate upside. If he did get up to 150 targets, I mean, if you get A.J. Brown 150 targets, the dude's going to be probably the wide receiver one. If he's healthy for all 17 games now, 17 games now, he's going to be, he's going to be a monster. So, it does cap that upside. But like you said, I think that both guys can coexist, and it'll be interesting to see, like, over the last few years, Julio has not been much of a touchdown guy. And, they lost both Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis in free agency. A.J. Brown kind of did profile and was that go-to red zone target for them. But it'll be interesting to see if, Julio is able to get more involved in the red zone by moving to this new scheme and this new system, right? Like, it's going to be really fun to watch. I had to get a piece of Julio because I want to cheer for him in Tennessee. This was in a 32 team league that I'm drafting right now, and it is the league is a blast, but I was able to get Julio with my second round pick, which is the equivalent to about like a sixth or so where I was picking. And so, I wanted to get a piece of that. I want to root for the guy, and, I want to see him be successful there in Tennessee. And I think that there is a world that they can be. I do think, like you said, Coach, the upside of A.J. Brown is capped, not like he can't be a wide receiver one, just like he can be the wide receiver one without, this massive target volume. So, do you guys have anything else, Coach? Do you got anything you want to add to that before we move on?
I think the other thing too is you kind of brought up with the touchdowns with Julio, and Jonnu Smith was kind of their big red zone threat last year, and he's gone now. And Ferkser doesn't really profile in that role. I think Ferkser's kind of overhyped in general, but that's a whole nother story. But Julio, I can't remember where I was listening to it, but it was a couple months back. But they talked about Julio and how he hasn't scored a lot of touchdowns. Well, he got double teamed like in the red zone more than like any other wide receiver. That's why and plus Calvin Ridley's already a pretty good scorer
red
of
zone
touchdowns anyway.
himself. Yeah.
So we'll see if that continues in Tennessee. Maybe then A.J. Brown gets more touchdowns, and that opens up his upside a little bit more too. Like, I think he's pretty much going to be what we've seen out of him last year. Hopefully he's obviously a little bit healthier than he was. And then, like, I don't know. Like, the biggest thing I got out of this is the Des Fitzpatrick draft pick in the 4th round that looks like even more of a reach than it already was.
There you go. Well, I don't think anyone's too worried about Des Fitzpatrick on the dynasty radar right now. This obviously is a huge upgrade for Ryan Tannehill. Adding Julio Jones to an offense that already has Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. I mean, you think about trying to be a defense and try and stop that. That's going to be a tough offense to stop. And so, like you had said earlier, Coach, if the defense can improve, I really think that that's what Tennessee is trying to do. Is they're trying to make a Super Bowl push here, right? They're looking at their division. They're saying the Texans and the Jags are, who knows how long the Texans are out. Sorry, Coach. But, the Jags are a few years out from being a true, Super Bowl contender, depending on what they do in the next, couple drafts. And so Tennessee's, pushing all their chips in. They got a 28-year-old workhorse running back, a 32-year-old quarterback who's having a resurgence in his career, and they're going, man. They're pushing for that championship. So we'll see if they make any more moves on the defensive side. It would be really interesting to watch this team and see how their season plays out. And, especially with the defense that they do have. So let's flip it over to the other side. Let's talk about the Falcons for a bit, because obviously, Julio Jones didn't have a massive target share in 2020 because he only played 9 games. He had 68 targets. But, he was obviously he 9 games and he had, basically 70 targets. He was commanding that volume while he was on the field. And so we lose those targets. We see them, all gone, what we expect from Julio on a year-to-year basis. And so how are you looking at this offense? Do you move Calvin Ridley above A.J. Brown in a redraft setting, like with this vacancy here? Or do you think this is more of a boost to Kyle Pitts, profiling as that bigger body guy who can fill a red zone role, but can also be, a playmaker in between the 20s. So Ellis, I'll go to you first. Where are you at with Calvin Ridley, and where are you at with the Atlanta Falcons offense?
Man, it's funny you come to me first with this one because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I want to hit you with some math here. Okay, you got a talented receiver who is drafted to be great and has shown that he's great. You have a talented receiver on an offense that's going to be great and is the red zone weapon on top of being the yardage guy between the 20s. Now, I just described to you both A.J. Brown and Calvin Ridley. At least I think I did, right? And that's what gave me the confidence to put A.J. Brown as my one for like before Julio. It was the ability, the talent, the quarterback, the offense. I didn't want to do it. I've never been a huge Ridley fan, but honestly, I made Ridley my one on the season, and that is a hot take. But I think that he fits everything that you want in what could possibly be the top receiver on the season. He has it. He has the quarterback that's locked in to throw over 4,400 yards. He's done it for 10 years straight. He has the red zone
running game in that offense either.
Yeah, no running game, right? Like it's everything is there. I think for him for the taking. So I mean, not everyone should have him number one. I like to think I'm a bit different that way, but I like everything I see. I think he's a locked in top 5 when you come in to draft him. And I think, yeah, he does. He does go ahead of A.J. Brown, I think, now in the drafts. If we're talking about the whole offense, though, I'm just worried about Matt Ryan. As much as I think Ridley's going to get the targets, that he'll be good enough. Ryan, without Julio last year, I remember I had him in fantasy, and, man, it was just night and day. He just wasn't the same player when Julio wasn't on the field. And it was kind of frustrating. And so hopefully with an off season and the addition of Pitts, he can mitigate that a bit. But going then to Pitts, I want to be cold on him, but everything is looking good. There's
right?
You can't be cold on him, man. Like my only thing is what everyone else has been saying, and it's just that no rookie tight end has done this. And since 2002, there's only been 2 rookie tight ends to have 700 yards. One of them Ingram, the other one was Jeremy Shockey. But he's gonna get 800 yards. The question is he going to be top 5 or is he going to be top 8? In my opinion,
I think when it comes to Pitts, the question is, is he going to play tight end? Like his designation says tight end, but like I think it's totally realistic that we see more than 50%, maybe 70% of his snaps out in the slot and out wide. With Julio being gone, like Mike Gesicki had 80%. Slot snap shares last year. Like 80% of his snaps were played in the slot. I don't think it's unrealistic. Like when you look at Kyle Pitts, I don't see a prototypical tight end. I just see a monstrous athlete that they're going to get the ball to. And so that's why, like, I don't know, his hype is growing and growing and growing. And that's worrisome. Like I honestly think Kyle Pitts in redraft might be, like somebody that I probably won't have on any of my redraft teams because his hype is getting so high that he's at, he's basically getting to where his ceiling's at. And, and then if you add the tight end premiums and whatnot, like, people might even be reaching more. And like we saw this, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire is, in redraft, he started going into the first round because the hype just grew so much. Every single mock draft, every single week, it would get a little bit more, a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, next thing we know, we're drafting redraft leagues, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going as the 108 as a rookie. And it's just if Kyle Pitts like creeps up into the second round, like he's in the third round right now in redraft leagues, and I absolutely cannot pay that price. And I love Kyle Pitts. I've done several videos on him. I've touted my love for him several times on this show. And, that's just a price that I'm not willing to pay for a rookie who I haven't seen yet. I'd rather go and take a commodity that, I know is going to produce rather than, betting on what I think is going to happen. Because at the end of the day, like my opinion is one thing, and what actually happens, 50, even more than 50% of the time is, something completely different. And I'm not going to be the one to sit here and tell you that I know what these coaches are thinking. And so, that's kind of the way that I look at it. I look at like, really what upside does this have? And if you're going at the beginning or middle of the third round, like really how much can you progress from that point as a tight end? Like we see Travis Kelce go at the back of the second. Or like the mid second, we see Darren Waller and George Kittle go at the beginning of the third in a lot of, single, no premium tight end leagues. And so sorry, I'm rambling now. I've had a lot of time to think about Kyle Pitts. So, Coach, I want to go to you, man. Where are you at with Ridley, and where are you at with Kyle Pitts? Like, do you think that this offense is going to be, still be able to move the ball the way they did, the past 10 years, or do you think we're going to see, them take a step back?
I think there's a lot of factors in play here with Atlanta. So I'll start with Ridley. I think he's a top 5 wide receiver. I think, you got Devontae Adams if Aaron Rodgers is still there. I think even if he's not there, he'll be real close to Ridley. But then you got Tyreek Hill, you got DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs. Those are probably the 4 that I put ahead of Ridley. And then I have Ridley and AJ Brown like right next to each other essentially at this point in time. And the major concern with me is the foot injury now with him. And if you guys look at like foot injuries with wide receivers is typically not good for a wide receiver, especially.
Yeah, they come back.
Yeah. I mean, we see it all the time. So we'll have to see how impactful that is on him overall, at least it's early enough on in the season that hopefully it's all right once we get going more towards the season. But really, it's just the question of who's going to be the second guy on this team. Are they going to? And we're not going to have a lot of the answers for this overall until we kind of see what their offense looks like. Are they going to run 2 tight ends? Are they going to put Kyle Pitts out as a wide receiver, or we get? I don't know. Like I'm so confused like right now what to do with this situation. I think they're definitely going to run the ball more than they have in more recent years though. Just thinking about that, but you only got Mike Davis there at running back too. So I think they're definitely a team that's going to add a veteran running back like when one gets cut as well. But there's just so many unanswered questions there. I think Matt Ryan, we kind of saw him regress last year, and I think there's more of that coming too. So I think overall this offense might take a hit, but I think Calvin Ridley is still going to be a key cog. Kyle Pitts, like you said, if he's going that early though, I can't take him before. Like at that point, he's like the 5th tight end to me.
Sorry, guys. I was saying they're almost going back to back, like Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts. Like they're going like a few picks apart from each other in ADP right now. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, Coach. I cut you off. I started talking. My mic was muted.
No. You're fine, but it's just like if you're taking him in the 3rd round, like if he gets to the point where he's above Darren Waller, that's just ridiculous. Like just take Darren Waller because you already have the known commodity. I still rather have TJ Hawkinson than Kyle Pitts at this point in time. And then if Pitts' ADP is so high, I'm just going to wait and I can take Noah Fant like 4 rounds later at that point. And
yeah,
I'd rather take a shot on, I'd rather take a shot on those 30-year tight ends that have already proven something.
So I think we're all kind of in agreement with that.
Yeah.
It's hard not to love him, but it's just tough to draft him so high. But what if I turn the question to you, Jules, and ask you about Dynasty? Where do you have him ranked in Dynasty?
Man, so this I've been ranking Kyle Pitts, with Julio Jones being gone for a while now. Since he got drafted, that's been the expectation. And if it wasn't through a trade, it's through the next year when Julio, they can cut him next year. The Titans can cut him next year for $2 million. The Falcons obviously could have done the same thing. I don't think they will. I think they're going to try and, unless he's really injury plagued, like if he doesn't play at all in 2021, they'll probably cut him for that $2 million. But if he's obviously what we think he's going to be in this offense, then they probably keep him around until he's going on 35, and then he probably retires. I can't imagine we see too much left of Julio unless he pulls Larry Fitzgerald and tries to play until he's what did he retire at 38 years old? Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, that's crazy, man.
He's technically retired, man. I think he's
he's still a free agent, technically. Yeah, that's hilarious, man. And so I wanted to talk quickly about this. We'll move on to the draft shortly, guys. But Mike Davis, man, are they still haven't added anybody. Coach, you alluded to it. You expect them to add somebody, maybe bring in Todd Gurley. But if they, how funny would that be? But is Mike Davis a value right now in redraft leagues? If he's going, I think in 5th, the 6th round in ADP right now. This is a guy who was snuck into the top 12 running backs last year in a heavy workload capacity. But right now, there's nobody behind him. So we'll talk about that right now, and then I'll steal your guys' draft tips when we get into our NFC South draft later. So Ellis, take it away, man.
Yeah, man, I love Mike Davis this year. I know he really cooled off towards the end of last season, and that's a little bit worrisome. Like, but he ran into a wall, and despite his quad, still couldn't make it through. Like, he just fell off the face of the earth for fantasy. However, I like him this year, man, and partly it's just because of what the team's doing. I was actually, it's funny, I was talking to my friends too, Craig, about, they might bring back in Todd Gurley. He's from there. He went to play college there. He's not from there. And why not just keep him around? And but they haven't made a move to bring anyone in, not just Gurley, like literally anyone. And
except for Mike Davis.
Well, that's the thing, except for Mike Davis. But they're still repping Quadri Olson and Brian Hill.
Ito Smith,
they've done nothing to show that they're not being Mike Davis is our guy. Our O-line might be mediocre. We might not have a run game, but for some reason he's our guy. So I'm all for him. Yeah, and I think because of his job security, based on who's behind him, I kind of like him better than Myles Gaskin, for example. And I get Gaskin has the passing work and everything, but I'm more scared of Salvin Ahmed than I am Quadri Olson or Brian
Jared
Hill.
Dokes.
Yeah, Doak. It's just I'm more concerned about those guys and I think both teams are going to be relatively similar offensive production if Tua can take a step forward. So
well, and I think Mike Davis can get that passing work too. I think it's not unrealistic to think that he sees, more similar passing volume to what he saw last year. Not, going to be the almost. Well, I think what did he have 70 some odd targets last year? I don't think he gets that high, but if he sees 40 to 50 targets in that offense and gets, if it's an outside zone scheme, which I expect it to be, and they're going to be, giving Mike Davis the ball, if he sees 15 to 20 touches a game, this could be really a really viable fantasy asset, guys. Jim is in the chat. I just want to pull him up here. He's been lighting up. Coach, this is normally you, so I just gotta give a shout out to our boy Jim Nastig at Gold Jacket QB. He's saying that Kyle Pitts is looking as good as my beard, which I can say is quite immaculate. He also says Quadri Olson is decent. I shouldn't have pulled that up. I don't want to talk about it. And yeah, so we'll we'll move on. I appreciate you checking out the show, Jimmy, and jumping into the chat with us. So Matt Ryan, we kind of alluded to it earlier. I don't think we need to touch too much on him. Coach, you did say that you expect him to take a step back. One thing I wanted to ask to you guys about, with the extended season this year and looking at some of these players' age, we've seen this happen in other sports, resting players. Do you think there's a world where maybe Julio rests 2 games this year? He's had injury history. He comes out, he plays 6 games, rests, plays another 6, rests a game, and then plays out into the playoffs. Is that something that we could actually realistically see happen in the NFL, or do you think it's just too competitive, too short of a season for them to be able to risk players for those games? Ellis, I'll go to you first, man.
I definitely think we could see it happening. I mean, we've seen in the NBA, look at Kawhi Leonard and what he did when he was on the Raptors, right? I love just bringing that up when I can, but I think it is becoming a thing. And yeah, it's competitive, but I think it all depends where the offense is shaping up when in the division, right? Are the Colts doing as well as people think? Are they worse? Because especially when you're that old, being 32, and you're Julio, taking the rest is probably worth it. I'm actually more concerned when it comes to Derrick Henry, and I get it. He's a truck. He's an absolute beast. But man, you add one more game of 30 carries to that, man. That's a lot. So I don't know. I think it's going to happen, but I think fantasy managers is going to have to deal with it, and just kind of see, because every team will have a different perspective on it. And it won't be until 5 years down the line where we're like, oh, either the players can hold up through an extra game, or every team has adopted the strategy where if you're over 28, you rest 2 games. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. Coach, what do you think, buddy?
I think it depends on the situation too. Say they're playing the Jaguars and the Texans, and they know they're going to win, so they just pull them out for the second half and stuff like that. You could definitely see some more of that. Derrick Henry one's kind of interesting too. I think they have it probably as much depth behind him as they've ever had right now. Obviously, you take away the time that DeMarco Murray and him were there together, because he was DeMarco Murray's backup essentially. But They got Brian Hill.
What a crazy world, eh? Like, imagine someone told you like 5 years ago that Derrick Henry was going to be, like a top 7 dynasty running back at 28 years old. You know what I mean? Like, that goes to show, how we don't actually know things. And Coach Jim says that's a great point. But sorry, I cut you off again. I have a terrible habit of doing that. I like to talk, Coach. I'm sorry. So take it away.
But, they signed Brian Hill, who actually at the time I kind of hated that signing just because Mekhi Sargent, a running back out of Iowa, he's a guy that I really liked, thought could be like that third down type of running back. But they brought in Brian Hill. Obviously, he's had some success at the NFL level. Darrington Evans looked really good out of Appalachian State, but was dealing with hamstring injuries all last year. And then they had Jeremy McNichols come back from like the dead and be halfway decent third down back last year. And then I think Deontay Foreman's still there, but he was good for the Texans. And then as soon as he tore his Achilles, he's been done for.
He had like 2 good games for the Texans, and then I don't know. Didn't he also get he had some kind of off-field issue, right? Dante Foreman?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but that Achilles just like ruined his career. He lost like all his explosiveness.
Yeah. It's a tough injury to come back from, man. Like, it's really bad. That's tough. That's my cousin Draven. Trav says you could be his distant cousin, Craig.
Maybe. Even going back to like the Mike Davis point that you guys talked about, though, there's like nobody behind him. And like, if you can get a running back like that in the 6th round, like, why not? Because like, there's Quadri Olson. Like, I think Quadri Olson, like, if you're in a dynasty league and you just want to, like, he's probably on the waivers anyways. If you just want to pick him up, take a shot and see what happens. Like, for a guy as big as he was, he had good athletic measurables. Javian Hawkins is just not good at football. Like, and he's 183 pounds. So like, he's going to get hit. And like, he's just a fast little guy. That's all he is. And then they have Caleb Huntley too out of Ball State, who is arguably one of the worst running backs in this year's draft class. And he's just a big chunker is all he is. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, like, if somebody like Jordan Howard gets cut by the Eagles, if he ends up down there. I think Jordan Howard still got gas left in the tank. He just kind of got hung out to dry last year in Miami, though, too.
What about Kerryon Johnson? A little Kerryon signing.
Well, he's already on the Eagles, so I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Doing at that point.
They took running back notes from your Texans, Craig.
Or maybe a guy like even like a Kalen Ballage, maybe he gets cut by the Steelers now that they drafted Najee and he ends up in Atlanta or somebody like that. That's kind of like, I expect somebody like that to end up there. Not like somebody super productive, but a guy that can come in, kind of take 5-6 carries a game, and then Mike Davis do the rest. Yeah,
it's totally realistic. And all that being said, I think it bodes very well for Mike Davis. So we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see. Let's take a quick second to take a word from our sponsor, Monkey Knife Fight. They are doing fantastic stuff. They have all kinds of different DFS prop bets. But I'm going to play a little ad for you guys so you guys can see what it's all about.
If you want the best DFS player prop games in the industry, jump onto Monkey Knife Fight. Monkey Knife Fight is sweeping the nation right now, and we at True North are proud to be doing it along with them. They've got games for all sports and skill levels that are sure to keep you on the edge of your seat, with endless opportunity to watch your winnings pile up. With our promo code TNFF, Monkey Knife Fight will match your first deposit up to $50. So sign up now with our promo code and you can get up to $50 of free money to start making some bank. Again, that's monkeyknifefight.com, and the promo code is TNFF at your first deposit to start playing today.
Boom. And we are back. Trav, if you are still with us, I know that you must have enjoyed your sexy phone voice. I hope the wife was tuning in as well, because you might be getting some tonight, buddy. Guys, let's move into our mock draft for the evening. So we're doing the NFC South. We're going to be drafting players specifically from the NFC South. So I'll pull up the rules here. I got them. Boom. It says 8. We've got 10 roster spots that's 2 benches. We don't have to draft those guys though. It's gonna be pretty ugly at that point. So we'll stop at once we get a full lineup set up. But so basically 8 players total. You must start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 2 flexes. There is a tight end premium, but it's not mandatory to start a tight end. Keep that in mind. That's very important, especially in this division because there's not a whole lot of tight end depth. So it'll be interesting to see how this draft board ends up falling. Ellis, I'll move that down so it's not covering your face. Boom. There we go. Trav saying he's I'm not gonna. I'll just let you guys read that. If you're listening to the actual podcast version of this, I suggest going to the YouTube section, going to 35 minutes and 25 seconds and looking at what Trav just said. Let's get into it, guys. This is going to be fun. I'm going to do a randomize the draft order, and then we'll get started. Boom. All right. Start draft. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. I got excited. I got ahead of myself. I gotta shuffle the draft board. You'd think I would have done this before we got on here, eh? Draft order, randomized teams. Wow, I got the first pick. Is that what you're telling me right now? Okay,
I see why you wanted to randomize it, eh?
Yeah, I get
sure. Let's do it again.
All right, I'm rocking it. Let's go. All right. I wasn't expecting to get the 101. Man, this is actually, now I have to think about this. So we'll start the draft, but it is, there's no timer. So boom. So I've got all our players queued up here so everyone can see. All of our we've got 5 quarterbacks in this division, which doesn't happen very often. So and one of them plays tight end sometimes with a tight end preview. So we'll see how that plays out. I think it's a pretty easy pick, to be honest. I said it's going to take some thinking, but I really don't. With the 101 of the NFC South, I'm going to take the 101 of redraft leagues, Christian McCaffrey, for the Carolina Panthers. I think that was a pretty easy pick all around. We're moving on to you, Ellis. You have the number 2 selection. So who are you taking here?
Man, I was thinking about going all kind of funky and trying to play a little fun here, but I think you're on the right track. I wish I got CMC, but man, I trust Kamara. Give me Alvin Kamara, man.
That's who I would have went with as well.
Yeah, man, he's that good. He's that efficient. The quarterback's changing, but they're going to figure that out. I bet he's still going to get targets, man. No brainer. Give it to me all day long.
Yeah, I actually, I was thinking about Alvin Kamara here or Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I think why is he not jumping up on what's going on here? You guys see this?
They know it's too good a pick, man.
Yeah, they're like, what's going on here? I have it all queued up too. I even got these guys ready. Like Alvin Kamara's here. He's where's our running backs? I don't know. This I hate it when things don't work. Alvin. You guys seeing this? We got Dalvin and Calvin. What's happening here? Is it because I'm on defense? What's going on? He just removed from their database. Here, I'm gonna reset Sleeper for a second. Your coach, take us into your 103 and your 201, and I'll get the draft board reset back up.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm thinking
you can look at it on your phone as well. Yeah, karma for cheating, Trav says. Karma for cheating.
There wasn't even a guy on the day.
Oh, that's funny. All right. What's going on here? All right, Coach. You can look at your phone. Feel free to do whatever you need to make.
Yep. I'll take Calvin Ridley with the first pick, though. I think we kind of already talked about him enough, probably a top 5 wide receiver pretty easy this year.
Yeah, man, good pick. I'd be taking him there too all day long.
I was kind of hoping. I was like, maybe you'll just not take Kamara and I'll be all right.
Nah, man, I would have if this was a different division. The thing is there's a lot of good receivers here, man.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then I think I'm going to take my homer pick with the second one with DJ Moore. Hopefully Sam Darnold figures this crap out, but I'm not too high on Sam Darnold regardless. But DJ Moore, he's good enough that he's been able to do enough with lesser quarterbacks even. So,
man, I love that. I think that's a bold move, though. So you're taking him over Michael Thomas is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Hey, Ellis, if you open your draft board, can you see Kamara on yours? Can you pick him? Like, I don't know what, like, he's just not in Sleeper's ADP here, which doesn't make sense because
I wonder
it's, yeah, I don't know.
Wonder if their random defense glitched it.
Oh, maybe you might be right. That might be who this is. Remove player. Let's see if he's here now. Coach, you may be a genius.
He's there now.
Is he there now?
Yeah.
Just got him. He's on my team. Welcome to the squad, Kamara.
Yeah. Boom. There we go. Coach, you took yourself Calvin Ridley and DJ Moore, right?
Yep.
Which it's really ballsy because you're going to have to wait a long ways back to get your RB1, but you're locking up those wide receiver 1 and 2. You need to start 3. So I think it's a strong and bold strategy. Ellis, where are you at with your 202 here?
Man, sitting with my second pick, I was shocked that you didn't go Michael Thomas. You took Moore instead. I think Thomas has a great season, but if we're talking tight end premium, there's only one tight end in this division I really want. Give me Kyle Pitts here, man. Let me lock that down.
You guys stole him from me. I guess it was just you, but I like the pick here. I mean, we just said I'm not taking Kyle Pitts in the second round, but here we are. I would have done the same thing. Had he got to me, I would have taken him at this turn here. So, you got your guy. I'm going to take the man you just talked about, which is Michael Thomas. I think he's a pretty safe selection here, pretty obvious selection as well. And then with my third pick, the first pick of the third round, I think there's a couple options here. So I'm actually looking at quarterback because this is not a super strong division for the quarterback position. Got to obviously start one. I've got myself Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas that I can fall on. The other wide receivers that I could go ahead and grab in this division, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, lock myself up one of those elite guys and then maybe play the game and see which quarterback comes back to me. I don't think you guys are going to take 2 of them. But I think that there is one guy who is, a tier above the rest when it comes to fantasy points, the weapons he has. So I'm going to go ahead and take Tom Brady at the 301. Ellis, it's back to you. Where are you at with your third selection?
Man, this is a tough one. I'll walk you through my thought process here. Coach Craig just got 2 receivers.
Sorry.
Yeah, do you want to share the draft board again?
Yeah. Oh, sorry guys. I thought I had done that. Drinking too much of this beer and not enough paying attention to what's going on the actual podcast. Yeah.
So the thought process here. So we got Coach Craig. He has 2 receivers. Now I know he's looking for running backs. To me, I don't want to touch Ronald Jones. I don't want Leonard Fournette. That leaves me Mike Davis. I kind of want to take Mike Davis, but Chris Godwin is that good a receiver that if he has that trio, that just feels like I'm shooting myself in the foot. Give me Chris Godwin and let's go right now.
Well, and I think if you went ahead and took Mike Davis, Craig would take Chris Godwin, with his next 2 picks, one of the next 2 picks here, and he would have an elite wide receiver core. So I thank you and applaud you for for taking our boy Chris Godwin as the third wide receiver off the board. Craig, back to you. You have double picks here. Where are you at?
Well, I was kind of hoping Tom Brady make it back, but that didn't happen. So I'll take Mike Davis with the first pick. Make sure we get a running back in here.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's going to get kind of ugly.
Mm-hmm. Like we said before we got live, there's a lot of top end draft. There's a lot of top end talent, and then the back end of this draft is going to get kind of ugly. And so, Mike Davis as the third selection on your third selection on your team, and the fourth selection, Craig.
And then you said it's 3 wide receivers and 2 flex spots, right?
Yeah, 3 wide receiver, 2 flex. You can check it here. I'll pull it up here so you can see the roster construction. QB, running back, 3 wide receiver, 2 flex.
So I'm going to take Mike Evans. I think he's just the best player on the board at this point in time.
Yeah, that's a little upsetting, to be honest. I was hoping he'd come back to me, but it's a good pick. So you filled out your wide receiver core. You've got your RB1. Ellis, it's back to you in the middle here.
Man, I'll tell you right now, there's no way Evans was making him back to you. That was going to be my pick too. I think that's a great pick right here. So yeah, looking at it, it's already starting to thin out, with these, the big 4. But I don't know. There's still a receiver on here that I think has a connection that's kind of getting overlooked right now, and I kind of want to take Robbie Anderson. He was unreal last year. Sam Darnold, we're looking for that comeback. That's my pick. Give him.
Robbie Anderson, and back to me with 2 selections here. So, also, Jim's in the chat. He's letting you know, Coach, that you are crushing it. Which you look at that wide receiver core. It's hard to deny that. So, I'm back up. I'm probably not going to attack the quarterback position because I already have my Tom Brady. I'm going to be looking elsewhere. I could go and take a flyer on Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette and try and shore up that RB2 spot. I'm also looking at some of these other wide receivers that are available, and it really is thinning out. I don't know if you guys see this, right? I've got this all pulled up here, but I'm going to go ahead and lock in my wide receiver 2 out of the available options and grab Antonio Brown at the 404. So we've taken all 3 Bucs wide receivers. Oops, that's Antonio Gibson. Not Antonio Brown.
We know you like
I wish I could take Antonio Gibson in the 4th round here, moving into the 5th. And now this is where it gets a little murky for me. I've got Christian McCaffrey. I could go ahead and lock up his handcuff and Chuba Hubbard, but I feel like it's far too early. Not only that, but I also have to start 2 running backs each week. It is thinning out quite drastically, so I'm going to go ahead and take my favorite of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers running backs and just build on my Tampa offense, going 3 Tampa picks in a row and grab Ronald Jones. It is getting ugly out there. Wow. Back to you, Ellis.
I was really hoping you were going to take Fournette and leave Ronald Jones to me, because to me that's the last back that we're looking at right now that has any sort of consistency. And he was really good to start the season. So, good pick right there, as much as I don't like to see it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So now going back to me, you're right. It is thinning out. It's a little bit tough. Looking at the roster construction, though, I do think there's one quarterback that's has the ceiling and is that much better than the other 3 in the division. And I think Winston wins the job. And I want to get Winston. I love the upside, love the weapons. I think he's set for a bounce back. Now, this is a risk if he doesn't win the job, but I think he's good. If he does get the job, which I think he will, he's that much better than Matt Ryan and Sam Darnold in fantasy for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I also think this offense, I think Sean Payton might want to be using Taysom Hill, as this versatile player like we saw, for the past 2 seasons. And so, if Jameis Winston can can figure out the interceptions issue that he had when he was in Tampa Bay, and he sat for a year, like hopefully in theory, that's going to humble him, and that's going to make him understand the game and appreciate the game. If he now gets another opportunity to get back in there, we would expect him to take advantage of it. And so, if he wins that job, we've seen what he can do from a fantasy perspective. And so it'll be, and then you give him Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas, to pass the ball to. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. But I think Jameis Winston, I think it's almost a lock that he wins that job. And that Taysom Hill is used in that versatile player role where they're moving him all over the field. They're playing him at tight end. Sometimes they have him in at fullback, like all that kind of stuff. And he's going to be, less viable for fantasy than Jameis is, especially if he has QB designation but is playing elsewhere. So, Coach, we're back to you. You got 2 picks here. Take me through your thoughts.
So the first one I think we'll take Uncle Lenny and just hope he's playoff Lenny.
Yeah. I mean, BPA at this point, to be honest.
Well, need a running back 2, and then he's pretty much the only one left, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, outside of him, what are you looking at? Ito Smith, Latavius Murray, Keyshawn Vaughn, Chuba Hubbard.
Ito Smith's not even in the division anymore. He got cut.
Oh yeah, he's out. He gone. My apologies, but I needed somebody to fill that last bench spot, Coach. So you're taking Fournette, right?
Yep. And then let's see. From there, there's not much left.
No, it's getting ugly, man. I mean, and looking at our teams, I'll pull them up here for us. So this is what I'm rocking with. I've got Tom Brady, Christian McCaffrey, Ronald Jones, Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown. Ellis, you have Jameis Winston, Alvin Kamara, Chris Godwin, Robbie Anderson, and Kyle Pitts. And Coach, you have Mike Davis, Leonard Fournette, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Mike Evans.
So let's see. What wide receivers are left?
You've got available wide receivers are Russell Gage, Olamide Zaccheaus, Tajay Sharp, Terrace Marshall, David Moore, Scotty Miller, Jalen Darden, Tyler Johnson, Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway, and Deontay Harris. Real ugly.
I think I'm going to take Latavius Murray here.
Okay. See, Coach he's playing the game now. He knows that we both have quarterbacks, so he's going to wait. He's going to wait on these guys.
Yeah. So if Taysom Hill wins the job, when he was in the game, they did use Latavius Murray a little bit more too last year. So I think that makes him a little bit more interesting. Obviously, if something did happen to Kamara, or if they use him more out in the slot, he could get some more carries as well. And I believe it's a contract year for him too. So he might, try to prove a little bit extra, just get that one last contract since he is like 29, I think now.
Yeah, well, and I mean, when Kamara went down last year, Latavius Murray was the RB1 the week that Alvin Kamara was out, the last time that Latavius Murray had a full workload. So it's not like he can't do it. It would be a question of how long is he going to be able to sustain that workload. But, in a pinch, I definitely think that that's a viable pick. And he's still involved on a week-to-week basis. It's not like he is only a handcuff player. He still gets, 7 to 10 touches per game, whether it be those ground and pound yards or a couple targets. So definitely a viable pick there out of the options available. Ellis, we're back to you at the 603. I guess you're 602, but what are you thinking here?
Man, back to me without the back I was looking for. I was so locked in on Latavius Murray that I didn't think you were going to double up, man. I was like, yeah, Fournette's out there. Give me my handcuff and let me double up in New Orleans backfield, because now what am I going to do? Well, the question is probably nothing. So, I mean, there's your answer. So now we're looking at it, and it's tough. I already got my tight end. I already got my Pitts. Now there's not many tight ends here, and I could go once again play the let's ruin your day and go take a Troutman. But I don't think that's the best player left, because I'm going to buy into, where's the vacated targets? What are they going to do? Give me Russell Gage. Let's round out my receiving core.
All right. I like the pick because I was going to take Russell Gage at this next turn here. Now I am why don't I? Oh yeah, there he is. Now I've got some choices to make. I could play the upside game, or I can play the the guys that I've seen before. I think the upside picks are in Terrace Marshall taking a step forward. Tyler Johnson getting more involved in the offense, who I think is a really fantastic player. Or I could go with the opportunity route and go ahead and take Traquan Smith, who has been getting lots of OTA camp hype. Or like you said, I can go and take one of these tight ends. And so I've got 2 picks here. I'm weighing my options, but I'm going to take my personal favorite players with these next 2 picks, guys that I truly believe in the talent that they have. And the first one is going to be my man Terrace Marshall. I'm going to lock him up, drafted to the Carolina Panthers. Terrace Marshall, boom, boom, boom. Locking that in. And then my next pick, that fills out my wide receiver core. Obviously could go and add somebody else, or I can look at the flex spot, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the tight end 1 for the New Orleans Saints, which is Adam Troutman, a guy who I liked coming into last year, needed a little bit of time to develop, and now he played behind Jared Cook, got some time to develop. We saw him, start to take a couple steps forward towards the end of the year last year, and now I'm hoping for the 2021 breakout. So Ellis, we're back to you, buddy. You've got another pick here. What are you thinking?
Another pick, another time to fill out my flex. Is it going to be time that we see Traquan Smith? I really don't know. But when we're at this point of the draft where we're looking at like the number 4 for Darnold, we're looking at the number we're looking at number 3. Was it Tajay Sharp maybe for Ryan? Nah, yeah. Traquan Smith, give me the upside and hopefully the opportunity for targets.
Well, I did consider Traquan Smith up there with Terrace Marshall because he is, at this point, he's the wide receiver too. I personally think that Alvin Kamara is, the second target in that offense. He's the wide receiver too, and it'll be, Traquan Smith might get the extras, but every year it feels like there's Traquan Smith hype, and so I think at this point in the draft, you're just betting on really, anything that we've seen in the past. So I think it's probably the BPA at this point, to be honest. So Craig, where are you at with your next 2 picks, buddy?
I guess we'll take Matt Ryan now. Just
no Sam Darnold for you?
No, I don't really like Sam Darnold. So.
Not even a little bit? What if you double up here on quarterbacks? What if you double up here?
I'm good. I guess we'll take Rob Gronkowski for tight end. He's still got that connection with Brady. He's still got some touchdown upside.
I like that pick.
There's not much else left. I mean, if you want to buy into OJ Howard still, I think it's kind of a lost cause at this point. He still could get cut. Like, he has nothing in terms of dead cap on his contract too. So
yeah, for sure. For sure he could. And I mean, he just hasn't been able to be healthy. And even when he was on the field, despite his athletic prowess, he's just not been able to put it together. So Ellis, we're back to you. You're up with your 8th selection here. This is going to fill out your team if I'm not mistaken. Let me pull this up here. Yeah, we got one more pick and then we're going to fill out our team. So Ellis, where are you at with the last player on your starters?
Well, that was going to be my question here because I see that we have a slot for a defense. Now,
yeah, so I had to put that in to put the defenders on the side here.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say, give me Tampa Bay. Let me start them all day long over whatever back I'm going to take. Like, just hand them over. But all right, so we're not starting a defense. It's good to know. So, okay, now we're looking at it. I still need a running back.
Let me pull this draft board up for you.
I think the only running back that is kind of left, yes, our Canadian friend Chuba Hubbard could take over or not take over if he goes down. If McCaffrey goes down, if he goes down, he'll take over the role and he can be what Mike Davis was last year. I think that's very good. I don't want to bank on injuries. Quadre Olson, as much as I trash talked him, is probably the only one that could actually, in fact, win a job. So give me him as my RB2. Oh, that was gross. I didn't like that.
Whoa, you passed up Gio.
You passed up on Gio. But
Yeah,
I
man,
mean,
there's
give me
too
like
many-
Quadri Olsen. We'll fill this out. We'll just finish up the draft, to be honest, guys. May as well, because we only got a couple rounds left. So I'll take. I'm going to take Chuba Hubbard here. I will handcuff my Christian McCaffrey share, and then also get our Canadian fellow. And then with my next pick, I mean, it's real ugly at tight end. I'm not looking at that. I'm probably thinking one of these wide receivers again that are available. One of these Tampa wide receivers are standing out to me. Olamide Zaccheaus. He's sprouted at times. But I'm actually going to go ahead and take Tyler Johnson, who I loved, in college, playing beside Rashad Bateman. And it was just an absolute monster his final year. And then there's just so many mouths to feed in that offense. Hasn't really been able to get the opportunity. But I think if he were to be thrust into a role where he could get, 5+ targets a game, Tyler Johnson would be a viable fantasy option. So I'm going to grab him in the 9th pick. Ellis, take us through your thoughts at the 902 of the NFC South, the grossest final selections you'll ever make of your fantasy mocking career.
I didn't think you can get much grosser than Quadri Olsen as an RB2, but we'll play this game. And I think actually you said the tight ends are gross. I kind of want to challenge you on that, because one tight end just got paid $6 million for 2 years, and they went out and got him. And Darnold. Right. Never know about Herndon, but yeah, you got my guy right there, Dan Arnold.
Darnold to Dan Arnold?
Exactly. And he has the tight end receiver designation, so he gets the premium points too. So we're good to go.
I like it. Oops, I wrote Sam. If you guys have been listening to the Fantasy Footballers for any length of time, they refer to Dan Arnold as the mailman, and I absolutely love that. I think it's hilarious because he looks like your typical mailman, acts like that dude. But he actually did have some viable fantasy weeks when he was with Arizona, and not just that. I mean, like we've said, tight ends take a while to develop, and he's got that double designation. He can, he's a versatile player that way. And so, like, at this point in the draft, you're really just, betting on any kind of upside that you can. And so, I definitely don't hate the pick. Coach, where are you at with your final 2 picks of the draft?
Yeah, I love the Dan Arnold too, just because he's a Division III guy. Went to UW Platteville, which was like 20 miles from where I grew up. So,
hey, look at that.
I think he's from North Dakota originally, though.
I was going to say that's way further than where we grew up.
Yeah. And then,
so Coach, let's hear your picks.
This gets kind of gross now, but I guess I'll take the Olamide Zaccheaus for one of them. He's had a couple of flashes when Julio's missed before. He kind of had some of his own injury problems last year too, and then I guess I'll take Sam Darnold with the last pick.
Because why not? You need some bench depth. I got to add some defenses here, just for the last round. And you said Sam Darnold?
Yeah, just because he's a quarterback at this point.
Yeah, I think it's the right pick. At least if Matt Ryan goes down or isn't producing, Sam Darnold had some weapons, man. Like he could, I think he could surprise a lot of people this year. And he's being drafted obviously extremely late. We just took Tyler Johnson, Dan Arnold, and Olamide Zaccheaus ahead of him. So, Ellis, where are you at with your last pick, man?
My last pick, I'm going to hedge my bet here just in case something doesn't work out. And I think he lost his tight end designation, but Taysom Hill, he can get that back. You get a premium. If he ends up winning the job, he has the rushing ability. Taysom Hill seems like a pretty good bet for the last pick of draft.
Yeah, well, and you're also handcuffing yourself.
Exactly.
You're getting that handcuff figured out. So that's a win for you. You know, a couple times that I've done these, Craig, I'm sure you were watching. People were, they doubled up on the quarterbacks early because then we opened up a trade section. But that was obviously not the case tonight. But we do have back-to-back quarterbacks in the 10th round. I'm back up with my last selection. This is This is pretty gross, guys. This is pretty disgusting. I'm looking at Gio, David Moore, Jalen Darden, who I do like as a dynasty option, but not as a fantasy weekly option. Ian Thomas, who has had 1 week of fantasy relevance in his mildly young career. I'm going to go ahead and this is gross, but I'm going to take Gio Bernard linking up with Tom Brady as my last selection.
You didn't
can't tell you a whole lot. I can't tell you a whole lot. He's got some OTA excitement at this point, but honestly, I mean, he's probably never hitting the fields, but we'll see what happens. So, and that wraps up our draft for tonight, guys. So let me, I'll read off the teams here. I'll pull this on Twitter, and we can let Twitter decide who drafted the best NFC South team. So my team is Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, Tom Brady, Antonio Brown. No, this is not the way to do this. I'm going to go to the roster. I'll list them off again. Okay. Quarterback, Tom Brady, Christian McCaffrey, Ronald Jones as my running backs. Wide receivers, I got Michael Thomas, Terrace Marshall, and Antonio Brown. And then in my 2 flex spots, I've got Adam Troutman, Chuba Hubbard, and then on my bench, Tyler Johnson and Gio Bernard. Ellis, your team, Jameis Winston, Alvin Kamara, doubling up on that Saints offense, Quadri Olison as your RB2, but you got that Chris Godwin, Robbie Anderson, Russell Gage connection, and Kyle Pitts in the flex in the tight end premium with Traquan Smith in the last flex spot. On your bench, you have Dan Arnold, and you locked up that handcuff quarterback in Taysom Hill, which I can't. That's a weird sentence that you had to lock up a handcuff quarterback. I wasn't sure that I was going to be saying that on this podcast, but here we are. And then Craig, your team rounds out with Matt Ryan at quarterback. Running backs, you got Mike Davis and Leonard Fournette, and then the stacked wide receiver core of Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, and Mike Evans, along with Latavius Murray and Rob Gronkowski in the flex spots, and Sam Darnold and Olamide Zacchaeus on your bench. So I think we've got some pretty competitive teams, guys. It would actually be really fun to see how these teams actually perform, on a week-to-week basis to go and see who drafted the best NFC South team. I'll see if I can set that up on Sleeper, if we could just run like a best ball out of this draft or something. But it'd be a lot of fun. But thank you guys. Thank you both gents for coming on tonight. Ellis, you reached out to me to see if you could come on at some point, and I was like, hell yeah, man, let's get you on at the in a couple of weeks. And so I'm so excited that we were able to get you on. I'm so glad. It was a pleasure. I'd love to have you on again, my man. As I've been saying on the past few pods, I'm going to be bringing 4 people on moving forward. Once we get after Brighter Skies and stuff, so there's going to be a little bit more opportunity for guests to come on. Maybe Coach Craig, you'll be on a little bit more consistently than the group message asking if anybody can fill in. So I thank you guys both. Ellis, is there anything you want to plug before you get out of here? Anything you've been working on? Anything you want to say? This is a totally open podcast. So, say what you want.
Perfect. Well, hey man, I think I got to thank you for having me on. It's awesome to finally be here. I mean, we live so close, but unfortunately we can't do it in person yet. One of these days we'll grab that beer and we'll do a draft in person or something, man.
There we go.
Yeah. So I really appreciate the invite and everything, man. It was great being on here. Right now for me, what I'm working on is an article kind of outlining domestic violence and the NFL, and just kind of like how that can impact fantasy managers. So, I know it's a serious topic. Don't want to bring this podcast down, but I'm really proud of it. So look for that in the next few months. So we'll be excited.
Not bringing us down at all, man. I'm excited to check that out and read about it. And it's, I'm running a fundraiser in just a couple weeks, in 2 weeks from now, the Brighter Skies fundraiser. And not necessarily is related to domestic violence, but, we're talking, the whole idea of the podathon is to raise awareness for cyberbullying and for mental health and as sad as it is, those things go kind of hand in hand, with people who suffer from abuse and that kind of stuff. And so, I applaud you for writing that article and digging into that information and seeing how it actually impacts fantasy owners is going to be really exciting. So I'm pumped for that. It's going to be a pleasure. Definitely not bringing down the podcast. Don't you worry about that. Coach, is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here? I know you're doing daily DFS videos on your YouTube page. You're also doing breakdowns for every single team right now. I was checking out your YouTube page earlier. So, tell the people what you're up to.
Yeah, and before I get started, I'll be real interested in that article too as well, Ellis. When I was in college, I did a sociology paper, and it was kind of about sports and violence too. So, that was like 10, 11 years ago when I wrote that. So it'd be kind of interesting to see how some different studies and things have come out too as well. Like you said, Julien, I've been doing DFS. I did daily during the regular season of the NBA. I really haven't done the daily videos for the playoffs, just because there's it's 2 to 4 game slates, single game slates. Some of that's a little bit tougher, especially for NBA. I do like single game slates, like in NFL a little bit more. It's just a little bit easier to strategize because there's so many more ways to be different than in the NBA. But right now I'm finishing up. I've been doing the draft grades for each division, team by team, pick by pick, just giving them a letter grade, and then going from there. I took a little bit of a break before that, just kind of catch up on everything, a little bit of break from everything. But once I get done with this, going to start doing some rankings, and then I'm going to start looking at some of the higher name prospects for next year's draft, try to get a grade on them before the season and then kind of after the season and see how guys kind of progress.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to check that out because I definitely trust your draft ranking process, and it's always a pleasure talking with you about prospects. Honestly, man, you're in my DMs and you tell me stuff that I had no idea about, and I appreciate the hell out of that because it makes me a better fantasy player. But getting it out to the people who consume the content is number one priority. And so absolutely fantastic stuff, man. I actually turned post notifications on because, Craig, you never tell us when you post stuff on your YouTube page. So I turned on post notifications so I can watch your videos as soon as they air, because seriously, you are a fantastic, not just football mind, but sports mind in general. And I appreciate having you on. So before we get out of here, guys, I'm just going to play one more quick ad. It's Viridian Global. As you guys can see, I've got my True North toque on, toque. I have a True North toque. This is my True North hat. This is my Flex Fit hat. And then I've also got my Brighter Skies t-shirt on. They are absolutely fantastic over at Viridian Global from top to bottom. Just, communication with actual clients as well as on the purchasing side is absolutely amazing. And they just very recently released an entire Scott Fishbowl collection, which has a bunch of different brands and stuff, different bands. Scott Fish plays on different brands for the different bands. I don't know what's up. I can't talk today, but you guys get what I'm saying. Go check it out at ViridianGlobal.com. I'm just going to play this quick ad and then we'll get out of here.
I'll just take a minute to tell you about my personal experience with Viridian. I kind of had been dabbling and trying to get some potential apparel and merchandise going for Sons of Dynasty. And, I got linked up with those guys over there, and they were absolutely fantastic. I mean, customer service 101. They were not satisfied until I was satisfied. And they made me a priority, and it was very apparent. It made to order, just everything you need shipped right to customer. It's essentially effortless to have your own brand being made available all around the world, and Viridian Global brings that to your fingertips.
100%. I couldn't have said it better myself. So huge shout out to Viridian Global. They do all of our merchandise. They got over 50 fantasy football affiliates, all different kinds of gear. You can literally type in a player's name and they have a shirt or a hoodie or a sweater for that player. So definitely go check it out, ViridianGlobal.com, with all your fantasy football apparel needs. Boom, and we're back. You can use that promo code down on the bottom. It's running across the ticker. You can find Viridian Global online at viridianglobal.com. Use the TPA code. It's just TPA for 10% off your first purchase. And lastly, before we get out of here, the last thing I want to talk about, this is the last day to sign up for Brighter Skies Best Ball and Podathon event. It's going to be airing in 2 weeks. We're going to be doing the actual Podathon, but the signups end tomorrow at midnight. So get your signups in before that's Saturday, June 12th. They close. So if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know what Brighter Skies is. I talk about it all the time. I'm very passionate about this project, and so I'm super excited about it coming up. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we get out of here? Hatred for Canadian geese? How much you love ketchup chips, Coach?
Yeah, and just in general too, just the True North website. There's a lot of great articles coming out right now. Some of the newer guys, even Nate's pumping out a lot of content. We got that how-to series coming out very shortly as well. I just recently finished up a couple articles for that as well, so it's going to be a lot of good stuff coming up real soon.
Yeah, we got a bunch of content pumping out, and if you guys aren't following along at the True North YouTube page, definitely make sure that you subscribe. We have daily, almost daily videos in season. We have 5 podcasts a week pumping out content for everybody, whether that be DFS, Dynasty, or whether we're talking redraft or single day slates. So all kinds of content. Go check it out at TrueNorthFFB.com. And you can also find us on YouTube at just search True North Fantasy Football. It's been an absolute pleasure kicking it with you guys. This draft was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to talk some Julio and AJ Brown and Calvin Ridley. And I'm looking forward to the next time that I have both of you guys on. See ya.